Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our level 7 line of code for P&L. So now we want to deal with the interest. So let me take you to our code for interest. So here we'll do, we'll talk about the lines of code, or the lines for code for interest. So we've done up to level 6, of which we've seen now we get the earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. So now we are in level 7, of which we want to do the interest element. So here we are saying that interest is equal to P&L data dot P&L data, rather interest is equal to P&L data. So now we are here, and we are saying that interest is equal to P&L underscore data, then P&L underscore data, then category is equal to interest. So we are just picking a subset of data where the category is equal to interest. And then again, you're saying that interest is equal to interest dot group by. So we want to group the rows in terms of category and ledger, and then we want to sum the numerical values, and then we'll also reset the index. And then down here we have total interest. So total interest dot log in square bracket interest is equal to interest in double square brackets. So we have here the numerical columns, the period actual, period budget, YTD actual, YTD budget, period last year, YTD last year, total last year. So we want to sum the numerical columns. And then we are seeing that interest is equal to interest dot replace. So we are replacing the null values with the interest as a string, and then we are also resetting the index. And then down here we are saying that interest is equal to interest dot tail dot drop in bracket index. So we are only getting the tailing row. So the tailing row is where we have the total values of interest. So that's where we are saying that interest dot tail in bracket 1 to mean we are only picking the last row of that data frame of the interest. Then down here we are saying level 7 is equal to pd dot concat level 6 dot interest, and the x is equal to, rather level 7 is equal to pd dot concat level 6 comma interest, and the x is equal to 0, and we are also trying to reset index. Then the level 6 again, rather level 7 is equal to level 7 dot drop index axis is equal to 0 because we are dealing with the columns. So let me try just to print the interest part a bit, rather let me print this data frame for interest before we do the total interest. Interest. Period is 1, then financial year in review is 2017. So this is what we have as interest, but the assumption is that maybe we had different categories of interest. Maybe we have linked interest that we are paying long-term loan, Then we also have interest where we pay short-term loan, and then maybe they are from various banks, so we'll have quite a number of categories of interest. So but for our case here, we just have one line for interest, and then we are saying that interest.log for total interest is equal to interest.log in square bracket interest is equal to interest. So the principle is what we just used up here. Yeah, it's the same principle we are using here to get the total interest element. But with this data frame, you only have one line, one row for interest. So it won't make any change as the code writes, because we only have one row. Then down here we have interest is equal to interest.replace. So we are trying to replace the null values with the string called interest. Then we are trying to reset the index. So this happens when we have different categories of interest, or rather we have different quite a number of rows of the interest element, and then we also have different categories of interest. So that's when this will apply. So we must have this this line of code because when we assume that we only have one line of one row for interest element, it will not be correct, because maybe in future we'll have quite a number of different categories of the value for interest. So we'll be getting the total value for those different categories of interest elements. So that's why you must have this line of code as interest.log. Then we have the numerical column values within the square brackets. Then we sum those numerical values. Then again we are picking on the last row of the interest element. So after getting the total, you only pick the last row. So we are saying that interest is equal to interest.tail in bracket 1 dot drop index. So we are dropping the index after resetting the index earlier. So the level 7 here is equal to pd.concat level 6 dot interest. So let me print level 7. But before I print level 7, I want to show you how the P and L will look like when we don't have the category column. So what I will do here, where we've dropped index, I want to drop also category. And I will also drop the subledger. So this is just to show you what will happen, how the data frame will look like when we drop the category under the subledger underscore ledger. Then we need to have them in square brackets, and run now the level 7. We see what we have. I need to comment this other printout for interest out. So the period number is 1 and the financial year in review is 2017. So let's see what we have as level 7. And level 7 is up to interest, so this is what we have. So now we've dropped category, we've dropped ledger as well. Now let me group by. Let me group by group by index. not group by index but group by ledger. So run the code again. So I want to group the values within the ledger column. Like now we have bank charges, you want to group the bank charges together. Communication, you want to group that together. So period is 1. And actually end of use 2017. So now you see this is what we have, but now the arrangement has been disorganized. Instead, what we need to do, we'll say here group by, then sort is equal to false. We'll say sort equal to false. You don't need to sort the values. Here the period number is 1. Here's 2017. So now let's see what we have as level 6 data frame. So this is what we have. So we have our sales volume, we have sales, we have cost of sales, we have gross margin, direct expenses, net margin, then we have indirect income, we have indirect expenses. These values again will at some point will turn the zero values to blank values, because we just want to have heading of indirect expenses, and these other columns will be blank. So we have bank charges under indirect expenses, we have communication and expense, general expenses, legal and professional, office rent, rather office maintenance, rent, traveling, utility, warehouse. Then after that we have total expenses, and after getting the total expenses, now we have the earnings before depreciation, interest and tax. And then down here, then after earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, we have the interest element. So when we net off the interest element from earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, I will be getting our earnings before depreciation, amortization and tax. So what we'll have what I'm showing here. Currently we've done up to this level. We've done up to earnings. We've done up to interest. Now from sales to interest, because we've done the indirect expenses, and we've also done the total direct expense, and we have the earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. Also now we have interest. So when you check back on our code here within our data frame, you can see we have 237 772 as total indirect expense for the period actual. The same applies to period budget. We have 201 252, which is here 201 252, and then when we net off the total indirect expenses from net margin and other income, we get these values for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. So this is what we have in our data frame within our code. So we need to do level 8 when we come, where we'll do the earnings before tax, amortization, and depreciation. But then I will be netting off the interest element. So we'll stop at there, but before we stop, I'll just take these values to the values the way they are. So I will undo the previous codes that I added. So this is what we have. So we'll stop at there. When we come back, we'll be talking about level 8. So level 8 will be netting off our interest element from total, rather from net margin and other income. So thanks a lot for watching, and let's meet again on the next video.